So this will be a good example of like kind of adding styles from nothing in Eleventy. Let me zoom this up just a little bit. So I think the first thing that we need to figure out is, so we have our index.md, which uses our homepage. So includes, we have layouts, homepage layout. Okay. I'm going to assume, like for right now, that I just want this to pull in a general style sheet. Let's see. I never write these anymore, but I think it's link rel style sheet.
Yeah.
And href?
Yeah.
It's so funny. It's like I don't even write them enough to like have a snippet set up for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Then I guess I know that Eleventy has these things where I can kind of pass in, it's like a URL filter, right? They call it.
Okay. Yeah.
And so that would be like whatever our base URL, like our root URL is, it's going to resolve it to that. And then I think from here, I just pass in like, I don't know. Do you like CSS or styles?
I think I usually call mine, like if I have a global style sheet, it's usually styles.css for me.
Okay.
However, I don't know that you need the URL filter, and that is because when you have an HTML document with a link with an href like this, I believe it assumes relative to the root. So you can just do a relative path in there.
Okay.
And yeah, so you can just do like CSS/styles.css without needing any of the like templating.
Okay, cool.
I think.
Let's see how that goes. Easier. I'm down for easier.
Mm-hmm.
And then should I root that out or just leave it relative?
I think you leave it relative like this.
Okay.
I could be mistaken. We might have to play around with it.
So the only challenge here is that if we ever used this particular layout homepage for another, like a nested page, right? That would break the URL presumably.
I don't think so. I think it's relative to the root of the whole site.
Okay, cool.
So
let's try that.
Relative to slash.
Okie dokie. Okay, so we got to do that. Yeah, I mean, I guess we'll find out. So now I need to, let's set up a, let's get this script running. Because I'm streaming, everything's a little slow, but npm run dev, I believe, was our command.
Mm-hmm.
Woo, we got that log, everything's going. Okay, so let's check out our site and see if anything happened here. So we didn't, and this is what I was running into when I was kind of running my like little experiment the other day, is it doesn't automatically get pulled into, or I guess I need to make a file first. Let's see, so let's do.
You don't want to do that in underscore site because that is your build.
Whoops.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, taking a second.
It's thinking, isn't it?
It is. It's thinking. I need one of those M1 computers that can apparently do everything all at once.
Except for Docker. I'm excited for those computers, but I'm not going to be one of the first to get them. I'm going to, first of all, I just got the Mac like a couple months ago.
Yeah.
But I also just generally don't want to be in the first group of people to.
Oh yeah.
So you're actually going to want to move your CSS directory inside source, and the reason for that is in our 11d.js file we indicated that the input directory is source, and so 11d is going to always assume that that's your root for things like this.
Okay, and then let's, so I think that was in this return, right? Yeah, so we have this return directory input source. Okay, now we're still not getting it, and I think that the problem is that there's this thing that actually, there's a command that's like a pass-through or something like that. There's a configuration that we have to pass in, right? So
yeah. Because by
11D.
default, so Eleventy uses the word templates in a way that I find confusing. But template refers to basically it refers to the markdown files
Okay.
by default. Um, so it's going to automatically pick up things like MD files and use their directory structure. Basically, we want to tell Eleventy that CSS also counts in that regard.
Mm-hmm.
And to do that, we use this add pass-through copy that you see here.
Yep. Okay, cool. So let's do that. So we'll actually, this one looks kind of really similar to what we're trying to do with the source.
Yeah.
So we're gonna take that and actually let me open this up. Local host 8080. So that's what our thing looks like. I'm gonna zoom that in. Just for funsies. And then let's see. So I think, if I'm not mistaken, we just add this right here.
Yep, and replace image with CSS. And you may need to restart the dev server. I find that I usually have to whenever I make any changes to the 11D config. But
okay. Oh, you know what? I got to use the right iteration.
Oh, yeah. Okay. We may at some point just decide to change the name of that variable
for copy pasteability.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know what we can do is let's do this. Actually, this will be a fun little Git experiment. Let's see if we can do this. Oh, I can't change the size of this guy right here. Let me just open up a terminal. Okay, so we'll do, let's see, git status. Oh, I have this lock file. Okay, so I'm not too worried about that right now. So we'll do this. We'll do a git add p. And actually, we're not going to do that just yet. We're going to change everything. We're going to get all these. We're going to change those to 11t config.
Nice.
And then I think I'm going to reformat that. Or we don't have any do we have a prettier REC? Okay, cool. Perfect.
Yes.
It is.
Yeah, Matt went ahead and added it. What's up?
I need to make sure that I have that installed. And does that one use it just uses the prettier code? This one?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Let me make sure. Okay, I have it installed, enabled. So it should be doing the right format for these. Let's double check that.
And if it doesn't do it on save, I know Matt set up Husky so that it'll do it on pre-commit.
Okay, cool. So single quote true. And then let me just make sure that it changed it to that style. Yes, so it changed it to that from the double quotes across the board. So let's see. Okay. Let's change something else. I'm going to take that out. I'm going to run this. A friend of mine was talking about, a friend of mine asked me kind of, like they're starting a new job and it's their first kind of like, they've done a lot of like private stuff or like, work on a personal site. And asked like kind of like, okay, what's the thing that like I really need to know in order to kind of like do this well? And I was like, man, Git is like where you interact with everybody. Like no matter how good you are, it's like Git is kind of like the front door of everything. So anyway, so it got me thinking about like, oh man, like it's probably important to like as you're working, like cover any like stuff you would do for like Git.
Yes. And I think especially when you're doing something like going through an online course, having the course remind you to use Git here and there has the benefit of it helps you break up it helps you break up all the things you've learned in ways that you can go back to.
Yes.
And it also lets you like store the things you've learned in a place. Like it gives you quite literally a repository for that.
This is one of my favorite things about the Rails tutorial at railstutorial.org. It was like, it felt cumbersome at the time, but like in retrospect, I'm like, oh man, this is so amazing because it showed you Rails is a full stack framework. So it showed you all of those things, but then also, they did everything in Git, which was absolutely amazing. And they did so because like they, um, leaned on what is it called, Heroku to deploy. So like you get a lot for free when you use Git, but still like having that like whole virtuous like full stack Git deployment was pretty killer.
Yeah.
So I am just gonna commit the let's see, reformat JS with prettier. And then I'm not sure why the Husky thing isn't running. Oh wait, it did on commit. Interesting. Yeah. So I wonder if it would have reformatted that file anyway, or if because it's a dot file, it's not formatting it.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Or maybe I think when Matt added Husky, I think he ended up reformatting the prettier anyways.
Okay.
So it might have just like already been good.
Okay, cool. Okay, so then we can add, oops. So then we want to do this. And change the streaming mode real quick. Can you still see everything?
Yep.
Okay. You know what? I don't think I added anything last time.
Oh.
It's all right. I'll just add them together. So git add JS git commit. What did we do? It was Eleventy config.
Yeah, we renamed Eleventy config to align with doc examples.
Yeah, actually, git. Rename Eleventy to Eleventy config. And then this third line will be the message to improve copy paste ability. That's not really a word. From documentation. Right, and quit that.
Yep.
Cool. So now we should be able to paste in what we had without any additional effort except for changing the path. Reformatting, saving, and then let's see how that worked. Let's go over to, okay, cool. So I guess we can test this without actually changing a style by looking at the network tab, presumably, and changing this to just CSS, which
and it
we're
seems
getting.
like it's successfully. Oh no, we're 304ing on the.
You're right.
Styles.css. Oh, it's not modified. Okay.
Oh, because I refreshed it one time already.
Yeah.
Okay, great. Let's see. So that works. So let's just do like, and I think this brings up an interesting point. So we've created a general style sheet, and I think that this is an area, as someone who's done a lot of styling work in my career, that I find kind of an interesting trade-off. Because in an app or in something like this, you could easily over-architect it by putting too many things in too many places. And I think that this is where good, like, kind of like rules or patterns around hygiene come into play, because having a single file is great if it's like a digestible amount of code, right? And then kind of knowing when to actually make that split, and doing that kind of at the right time, as opposed to just like trying to create some type of premature architecture for what this looks like. I think is important, but again, it takes a lot of discipline. So um, I'm curious, as I add some examples here, do you have any kind of thoughts on that same thing, Ben?
I definitely agree. I think when I'm dealing with like a React app, it's I think actually much easier to split up into a bunch of smaller CSS files because I can just import them into my components that use those directly.
Yep.
But here, you don't want every page to have 1,000 style sheet imports. Um,
Yeah.
you like it makes a lot more sense to like really hone in on like what should a style sheet be for, and it should probably be for more things um, uh, than a React apps style sheet should be.
Yeah.
Okay, so you've run into an interesting problem, which is that your CSS wasn't automatically reloaded. You had to rerun Eleventy, right?
I did. I had to turn it off and I had to rerun it. And
Yeah.
then same thing here. I
So
saved it again and hit. Oh wait, nope. This is my bad because I'm in the site one, which is not what I intended to do. So let me change this again and see if that catches.
I've definitely done that so many times. Oh, okay. Did it just automatically catch that? I wasn't actually expecting it to.
Yeah. So the first time it did not work, and this time it did work. So resetting it seemed to fix the problem, which I think for me has been kind of a theme for working with Eleventy. Is like if it doesn't work, like retry it, restart the server, and if it doesn't work after that, like maybe Google it.
Yeah. Because I always thought for CSS stuff, you would have to use in the 11D config API. There's a method called add watch target,
Oh,
and
okay.
that tells 11D like, hey, this file could change. When it changes, I need you to rerun everything because I think by default it doesn't do that for CSS, or at least that's what I thought.
Interesting. I wonder if because we've changed the route that it does that.
Could be.
Or yeah, I don't know. Good question. Interesting. So that one didn't take. So I do see a line on here reloading files from files that match CSS. So maybe it just doesn't like pink. Let me try green. Trying pink again. Weird. Okay. Just a momentary glitch in the matrix.
Sure.
Okay.
If you're too fast to make a change, like an 11D is still working on rebuilding, then I think it just like forgets about the newest changes.
Sure.
And just keeps going with whatever build it's doing.
Yep. Okay, so from here, I think that we'll do. I've always liked the system font stack as a default. I think a lot of coders seem to like that too. They really seem to be a fan of the sans serifs. So I think that we'll do this. I don't know exactly what the difference between the medium one and the GitHub one is. Looks like.
The
Oxygen
like
sans.
Yeah.
And then Ubuntu. Let's see. GitHub uses this method on their site, applying system font body elements. Okay. Uses a similar approach with a slight variation. Most notably, Oxygen sans. I guess I could have just read this instead of trying to read the code.
This snippet also drops support for certain types of emoji and symbols.
Ooh, I don't like that. I don't like that at all.
I guess that leads to more of a stylistic question of like, how likely do you think we are to want to use things like emojis on this site? Like, I know we added the emoji markdown it library. But like in practice, how much is that really going to matter for us?
That's a good question. I feel like, oh, that's a good question. I kind of feel like enough maybe that like I might not want to have to think about it again. I'm curious. Okay. So Oxygen sans. This is interesting. I assume that this is for Linux, maybe?
Yeah.
It's hard to say, but Linux would still have a sans serif fallback. I don't know. I'm interested in this. Well, you know what? Let's go for it. Let's try something different because I've used this 1,000 times. So let's try this. Let's see where what the boundaries are. Okay, so if we save, I'm just gonna copy and paste it for now as is, and then I might do a little bit of changing. Okay, so this is as we would expect. It's loading in. Something that I personally like to do is if I go into this home page, actually add some type of class to this. So on the body, we would do something like, let's see, there's a property for this, I think. Apple's system, I think it's system UI is like an eventual standard. Yeah. So I would have a tendency to do something like class name.
Class. You're dealing with
HTML. Back in HTML. Woo.
Mm-hmm.
Little brain.
It's also there. 4 and not HTML4.
Thank you. So I would probably, or I don't know. I'm just gonna go full bore on this. So data.
Oh.
This is how I do things personally. So I'm just gonna try it out. If anybody hates it, they can redo it. So then we'll use this brackets for the attribute selector. Data.
Welcome, Rob.
What's up, guys? I got a work call real quick, but I'm excited for this.
What's up?
Sorry I'm late.
Good to see you, Rob.
Hey, you're good.
Good to see you guys.
We're just hanging out. We're just doing work, but in a way that other people can participate in.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
So, okay, cool. So that still worked. I have become obsessed with this style of writing styles. It feels a lot more like there's just a lot more that you can do with it, and it feels a little bit more like kind of like props and components and whatnot than it does anything else. And like everything else feels a little bit ad hoc too. This feels a little bit kind of like modules. Like I could have like a module here, and then this is like my like named export type of thing. So that seems to work. Let's do that. After that, I feel like maybe the next big thing, and you can kind of correct me if I'm wrong on this, Ben, but like the next big thing is having that kind of centered style that you'd mentioned, where we kind of have like that single column and it sits in the middle, kind of depending on how big your screen is. Does that feel like a good next step?
Yeah, and so the way I would typically probably go about this is I would either go to the body or the main, your choice, and I would apply max width equals 80 characters, and then margin 0 auto.
Okay, cool. Let's do that in line first and see what happens. Oh my gosh, I keep doing all this JSX stuff. Don't need that. Oh my gosh. And then what is it? Is it 80? Is that how it works? Yeah. Is that how the character thing works? That's a fun little selector, by the way, or a measurement.
Yeah. It's Rob. Have you seen? Well, I guess he's on mute, but the character selector. What it does is it looks in whatever font it's using, and it looks at the width of the 0 character, and it says, okay, this width right here, I'm going to define this as 1 character. We can have up to 80 of this length. So that means that some lines might be slightly more than 80 characters, some lines might be slightly fewer, but it all roughly evens out to 80 characters, which is about the max width that you could get and still be legible.
Sure.
I want to say different studies have kind of highlighted anywhere from like 50 to 80 characters. So I wouldn't go more than 80.
Yeah, this is kind of like what books tend to optimize for, right? It's like around 80.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because we've all seen the sites that are like totally unstyled and have just absolutely long paragraphs that span the entire like extra large, like extra wide monitor, right? And you just can't. You can't.
You can't. It's like you lose your place, you lose track. It's uncomfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, let's take. Oh no, doesn't seem to be generating for me. Oh, all these ads got to load because I'm not in my Safari browser. Okay, let's copy that. I'm gonna put that in a single paragraph just so we can see if it is wrapping the way that we intend.
Good.
Okay, so we're gonna pull this out to the side. And so let's take our rule off and we can kind of see how that's working. So this would just go all the way to the edge. And yeah. Cool. Let's put that back. And I'm curious. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, I think if you go down to something like max width 40 characters, then I think you have roughly a decent guarantee of having the same width as like a mobile layout. It might not be exactly there, but it's like a close enough approximate that you don't have to do that much extra for responsive design.
Cool. Perfect. Now, oh, shoot. Let's see. I can't ever remember how to spell his last name. I was gonna say, so we were looking at lunch learn with Jason, right?
Yeah.
As kind of a model for how we wanted to.
LWJ.dev or learnwithjason.dev.
Okay. LWJ.dev. Okay, cool. Cool, except we were gonna do kind of like a two column thing, almost like if you visually cut this column off and just kept with this is kind of what we were after, right?
Yeah. I have I think I'm just gonna take like a screenshot of this Word document that I've got up and then send that in the live event chat.
Okay, cool, perfect.
But yeah, this was at very least like the idea that I was thinking of.
Yeah.
And I am. Oh, that was a loud click.
Dang, he does a lot of these. Unbelievable stamina, that guy.
Yeah. Usually it's like 2 a week, and they're well produced and everything. And he like on top of that, like I know he has to like work to get guests on the stream, and like the scheduling is a fun exercise there. Sponsorships, the like, it's really impressive.
It is super impressive. Okay, so I can't, it doesn't look like I can easily download this. So I'm just going to move this over onto my screen so we can see it. But yeah, it is kind of like, oh my gosh. So it's kind of like, and I'm going to use this to kind of block out this side because it is kind of like if you didn't have that column, kind of this right here. So latest event, or like, I guess up next. And then we have like an upcoming events block, and then we would have like a third block down here. Now for this button, is this like a join Discord button? What are we thinking for that?
So my thought was going to be like, at a certain point, like you probably have a ton of upcoming events, and it's not terribly helpful to show you the ones that are like off in the distance, right? Gotcha. So this I envisioned as like, it looks like a button, but it would actually be like a link that would take you to like a full upcoming events, like everything that we've possibly got booked.
Gotcha.
Page.
Okay.
And similarly, like past events might only show you the like 4 previous events, and there would be, or maybe like 6 or whatever. We could decide the number later. That's easy to change.
Okay.
But then there would be like a link to see like the full backlog.
Yes. Yeah. I like that. Let's see. I found.
Because yeah,
Oh, sorry.
we had someone join and leave briefly. Wish I could caught who that was. Oh, was that? Oh, howdy, Michael. Was that Michael? Who joined?
Oh, I don't think so. I don't see anybody in there right now. I think it's just us still.
Someone joined briefly and then left. Yeah. Because I was trying to think of like how people would use something like this,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt different to me than the Learn with Jason site, because Learn with Jason, like that site is so much about the backlog that like the
Yeah.
goal is to push you towards seeing, like, clicking on at least one of those videos that's already been done.
Yep.
Whereas I think for our purposes, like, it makes a lot more sense to push people towards like, here's the next thing you can add this to your calendar.
I totally agree. Yeah. Because we're kind of like just building that backlog now.
Yeah, and maybe down the road we twist it if we've got like a ton of things for people to look back on. Maybe we twist that, but at least for the time being, like, I want to focus on what are the next few things that you can join.
Totally. Yep. Love that. Okay, cool. So let's jump into this then. So I wanted to bring this up because I love what Michael's done here. With the check this out. This is pretty rad. First of all, it looks gorgeous. But this container is really implemented in a very interesting way, which I enjoyed seeing. Let's see. Okay, so there's this main padding function. So it actually applies padding, which is really clever, because now you can kind of extend. You could have individual sections that have a wider padding if you wanted to, or like more so. You have a lot of flexibility, and so. Oh, nice. Yeah. So you have so you just posted a layout. Let's see. I'll open this up as well. Copy. And this is like all design is just stealing things from other people. So
Josh Camo's work is incredible in this regard, and he gives like basically a walkthrough on like how you can implement this like full bleed.
Okay,
technique.
cool. Now this uses CSS Grid. Sorry, I said that so slowly. Grid. Okay, cool. This is so cute. Oh my gosh. Josh Coma's work is amazing. Just stellar everywhere. Okay, well, this could be fun. This is maybe a little bit more advanced than I have time for right now, unfortunately.
Sure.
I do love this, and I think that this could be a fun thing to do eventually. Because like these full bleed images, or like kind of a wider bleed code sample, like all that stuff is super cool to be able to do.
For sure.
Okay, cool. Let's you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna just put this in the code. I'm just gonna say, I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but right now, just so I can keep track of it. Okay, cool. Let's do that. And so let's see how this is implemented right now. So we have okay, so we have this main padding, which is a function of, man, these colors are hard to read. A function which calculates the full width minus the page content width divided by 2, which is interesting. Where is that?
Makes me wonder, like, how well does that work when you resize the browser window? Like, if you go really small, does it still hold up?
I think so. This is about as small as I can go on in Firefox.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. That's a really good mobile layout.
Yeah, it looks really nice. Now, obviously, he's doing some stuff to change text and whatnot. But I do like one thing that I like about these kind of constrained styles is that, you know, if you have an image, it's a lot easier to work, you know, against like a constrained thing than like
Mhm.
I don't know, having, you know, being able to go full width on a 5K display.
That makes sense.
Okay, cool. So let's take this. I'm just gonna copy what he's got right now. Okay, so all of these, any variable like this is going to need to be in some type of node, and root is basically just an alias to, what is it, HTML, I think, the root
Believe
HTML
so.
element. So let's see. So his content width is 632 pixels. I think we're going to define that in characters, but let's copy that variable as well, since that's used here. Let's go with, and I'm wondering. Well, no, let's go by the character width. I like going by the character width. So we have the main padding, and then we have, okay, so main padding is actually already divided. If I'm reading this correctly, it's taking the 100% width, it's subtracting out the content width, and it's dividing it by 2 so that main padding is actually 1/2 of the padding.
Yes, because you'll get the padding on the left and the padding on the right.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so,
yeah. So that part of it feels kind of weird to me. I'm going to take that out actually. And then I'm going to apply it in
Really?
both places. Well, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to apply it in both, like,
Oh,
on
so
both
you're gonna like
sides.
manually write out like padding left equals main padding and padding right equals main
Yes.
padding.
Yeah, just so
I
this
think
is
you
like,
still have to do the divide by 2 then.
I will. Yeah, yeah, for sure, for sure. But it would look something like, let's see. So we would calc,
Oh,
what is it? Main padding.
you have to do the var
Yeah.
for using the CSS variables.
Yep. Thank you. And then let's see. So we'll do this like data layout. Center. I don't know. Let's just go verbose right now. We can always make it less verbose later, right? So let's see. I need to. So I'm gonna need to. If I'm gonna use this in both, or I guess like this. So padding, I can use my shorthand like that to put padding on the element like that.
Yeah, you have misspelled padding there when you're consuming the variable.
Okay, cool.
So you'll want to change that. But
Awesome. Thank you for catching that. Let's see. So style, we have. So data layout, and this is going to be centered single column. Padding. I guess I was thinking about money.
it's a payday.
Hey, we did it.
Look at that.
Look at
That's
that.
snazzy.
Okay, cool. Let's open up our inspector. Let's see what we got. So this is centered, cool. And then see, I put that on main, right? Oh no, I put it up. I put it all the way on body. So that's not actually what I want to do. Let's put this on main.
Yeah, and that way we can do things like have a heading, and the heading doesn't need to.
Yep.
Be
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, cool. And then it looks like we're still getting that. I think there's a standard margin that gets applied to the body. So we're going to want to delete that as like a reset.
By the way, have you seen Andy Bell's modern CSS reset?
Let's see. I have used normalized traditionally, but
Okay.
I have not seen this.
Yeah, this is, I think, a little more lightweight than normalized.
Yeah.
And additionally, like, some of the defaults are centered around things like accessibility. So it has a fun thing where, for instance, if you include an image tag and don't provide any alt, it'll blur the image to make it incredibly obvious for you that, like, hey, this is missing some key information, which is really cool.
Oh, cool. That is cool. I love that.
It's awesome.
So now, because this is npm,
I think you should just be able to copy paste the file that you had on the Piccalilli site.
Okay, cool. That's what I was going to ask, because this is an area where I'm kind of curious what the boundaries are. Like if I want to pull something into Eleventy through npm, which we might want to do eventually, what that looks like if I wanted to pull CSS in particular. But I think copy and pasting sounds good for now. We can do that with something more exciting.
The npm library had like imports for CDNs, and that's probably how, like, if I really wanted to pull in an external file, like that's probably how I would do it.
Gotcha. Okay. So let's just grab the min. We don't need all the extra data because we're not really going to be editing this. So let's see. Let's take that and let's add this in here. So new file, reset.css, paste that in. Oh, I formatted it on accident. It is a bad habit. I don't want to format it. And then in our home page, we're going to add that new style sheet. And then, so it's critically important for these resets that we put them before anything else, because the way CSS works is like this is going to be, loaded first, and then we're going to override anything, versus like we don't want this to kind of accidentally override our CSS. Now that shouldn't be a problem because we're adding selectors, which are going to be like a higher priority than all of these little kind of like body, OL, DL, all that stuff. But at the same time, there are these media queries, so sometimes it gets hairy.
Yep. Yeah, so the media query that it had in there, for instance, was prefers reduced motion, which, if you're unfamiliar, just basically allows users to specify, like, hey, do I want to see animations or do I not want to see animations? Which can be especially important for people with vestibular disorders.
Yeah.
So that's kind of what I mean of like, as part of the defaults here, like there are some very sensible defaults concerning accessibility that I think are super cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this. It's super clever. So it did indeed take care of our margin problem. We're getting 0 margin on the body now, so everything's kind of going snug, nicely snug against the edges, which is great. Okay, cool. So I think at this point, how do we feel about that width? Do we want it to be wider? Do we want it to be less wide?
What do you think, Rob?
Good question. Can you take it back to the full screen?
Oh, yeah. Oh, also, this is going to look like this is so you're looking at a 1080p monitor right now, and then this is at 0. So I was zoomed in, which was giving us some maybe false perspective. But this is what it would look like at kind of 100% zoom on a 1080p monitor.
Maybe a little wider. Maybe. I don't know.
Okay.
Yeah. It's going to be kind of hard to tell with just the links that we have because our links are very short.
Yeah.
But Maybe if we.
Oh, whoops.
Oh, hello.
That's I wanted to. Interesting. So that's doing the whole. Oh, because it's padding. We're using padding.
Yeah. Okay,
That's right.
gotcha.
I was like, why is it doing the whole thing? Okay, cool. So that's not going to work as a debugging tool. Okay, yeah. So maybe let's try 60.
And what if we brought the lorem ipsum back to just kind of see?
Oh yeah. Let's see. I'm gonna have to go find that again. Let's see if I can. Can I page undo my way back to it? No. Here, let's just grab this. Let's just grab some of the nearest text we have.
Sure.
Beautiful.
We do what we can.
Wiki Ipsum.
All right, so that's about where we're at, and then these will affect. I think eventually these will be like visualizations, right? Like they're going to be some type of card, maybe an image, possibly video. Who knows? Some kind of like media presentation of this.
Yeah.
Okay, so
yeah, I think that really depends on like what all we're looking to fit into the cards.
Okay.
I could see us maybe bumping this up to 80 characters, but I also think that that's the kind of thing that can be done like down the road.
Sure.
Too.
Yeah. I think it's easy enough to. I mean, it's just in here. I guess I probably. So I have these set at the root, but I actually want these. Now that I'm looking at this again, I probably want these inside of my layout.
You can, but you're only defining CSS variables, so it's perfectly fine to stick them in the root because it matters more about where you consume them.
Yeah. I was just
thinking. I usually leave them in the root and then use more specific selectors to like override, like deeply nested wise.
Yeah. I was mostly thinking from the perspective of, from the perspective of kind of like co-location for this layout. So like if we did like another layout that we didn't want to be 60 characters, it would have to override. Like right now we're giving this one, I mean, we only have one layout, but like right now we're giving this one preferential treatment, right? In a sense, like mentally at least, we're like deferring to a default that I don't know. Again, not critically important, but just stuff. Okay, let's leave it like that for right now. I think I'm good with that, and then we'll move on to like whatever the next thing is. Let's see what.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of possible next things. One is we have, and it looks atrocious right now, but we have a partial for the header that we could go. It's used on the event page, and we could use it here in the homepage as well. It's just got like a bright like aquamarine background. Actually, Chan, do you want to maybe pull this out into like its own branch?
Oh yeah. Let's see. So get branch. Oh, nope. Oh man, doing my like conventions for like work stuff. So this will be what should we call this? Add. Okay, cool. And then we're gonna get push you. Oh, interesting. Did I accidentally do this with SSH? Oh, I did this with HTTP because I wasn't logged in from the browser. Frick. Okay, cool. Well, this is a good. Let me fix that real quick. Oh, I hate it when I do that. Okay, github.com/. I'm on a different screen right now, but I'll be right back. lunch dev community. Okay. Okay, so we're going to do this. I'm going to grab code. I'm going to go. So this is the SSH one. I'm going to copy that. I'm going to look at my remotes verbose. So I'm going to get remote. Is it remove
I think
origin?
you can just do set origin. Oh, well,
sorry.
or it's too.
Okay, get remote. Okay. Get push you. There we go.
Nice.
So yeah, so I just had to change my origin from the HTTPS to the SSH version. Okay. Okay, cool. So now that branch is up here, we can compare and do a pull request if we want to. Great. Oh, you know what? I don't think I pushed up. Are you okay with me pushing up? So git checkout minus.
Whoa, that just takes you back to your default branch? That's really cool.
Oh, it takes you back to the last branch you were on.
Oh.
Yeah.
Well, that's super cool.
Yep. Yeah.
All right.
It's actually, you can do, what is it? CD -2. It's kind of like a general alias, I think.
Gotcha. That's really cool.
I love it.
That.
I love it. So actually, I'm going to git log real quick. And actually, I just realized the time. I am going to have to leave pretty shortly for lunch with the fam bam. Okay, so the one commit that we have here is the change from 11d config to and like reformat. So I'm actually going to push that up so that the diff that we were seeing. So I'm seeing on this diff, there's all those changes right there. And I don't want to see those, so I'm going to push this up, just this one commit.
Yep, makes sense.
And then I'm going to git checkout minus. Okay, cool. Now I have everything else here. So git log, I should still have that commit. I do. Git status. I'm going to. We have this package JSON. I wonder what the. Or git diff package lock.
Yeah. So when I created the git ignore, I chose to ignore yarn lock, but I forgot to ignore package lock.
Oh, gotcha.
Yeah.
You want me to fix that on master real quick?
Yeah, let's go ahead and fix that. Well, fix it on your branch, I think.
Okay.
They'll be fine. Like.
Cool. So let me add what I want to do first. So we're going to add source CSS. Actually, why is it still showing my 11d? Oh, wait. Git. Okay, so what do we have in here? Okay, so we add the 11d config. We add the style sheets. Okay, so these are all part of our intent here. Okay, so I'm going to add git add 11t. Actually, let's do a git add p and we can look at all of them as they come in. So yes, we want to stage that. We also need to add our source. Oops. Add source CSS. Okay. So from here, we'll just say add single column layout. And then we'll add, we don't want to add the lock file, right? We want to ignore it.
Right. Yep.
Package lock JSON. Okay. So
Nice.
we now get the get ignore, the change to the diff to get ignore, and then we are ignoring the package lock, so we don't see that anymore. Okay. Push that up to our branch and see what we got. So I got this. I'm gonna refresh it. This is a pull request. So add a package lock. We add our little line here. We have. I wonder why there's so many changes.
It looks like spacing is the main thing.
Yeah, did I reformat accidentally? Oh,
Yeah,
I did
I think.
Sorry.
Oh, you're good. Go ahead.
I think I did a prettier format on accident.
It's fine. Oh, and it looks like Prettier also decided to expand the reset CSS, which is amusing to me.
Oh, right. I guess that's
Prettier causes more fights, man.
Okay, cool. I think that looks good. This diff at least is representative of what we changed, either intentionally or the robot changing before we pushed it up. Let's see. Okay, cool. I guess let's just I'll pull request this in, and then I think that's probably good for, we spent an hour on this. It's probably good for right now, and now we at least have the setup for kind of like future CSS efforts.
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's see, add contoured, centered, single column layout for homepage. Then I usually, what I'll do is I'll just kind of like enumerate some of the things that we did.
Okay.
So like add 11T or I guess that's source, right? So source.
Yeah.
Let's see, add data layout centered single column. We also added a typeface, right?
Yeah.
System UI. And then update homepage. Oh, we added reset too. And then I'll make this a link, and we can link to that. You said it was the Andy Bell Modern CSS Reset.
Mm-hmm.
Looks like
Yeah, and you'll find it on Piccalilli, his site.
Okay, in case anybody wants to check that out more. And then we update homepage.html to include styles. Cool, link works. Boop, 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 boop. All right, so we're going to create pull request. And then we have some options. Draft pull request. Nope, we're fine. Awesome. Okay, cool. I think, and then you know what? You're here, but I'm gonna do this anyway. Why not? Use the platform, right?
Use the platform. You want me to go ahead and get this merged in?
Sure. Yeah. If that seems right. Is there a let's see, it doesn't fully resolve, like if there's a style thing, it doesn't fully resolve that because it's just kind of like the next step. So we'll continue that on. What do you think? Since we're on here, what do you think? Maybe the next. Do we have an issue for styling, and should we add some?
I actually, weirdly enough, I didn't create an issue because you had mentioned maybe wanting to do this as a session.
Oh, cool.
And I figured that was something that would require like group conversation as a session. But I can go ahead and like create an issue and do some linking.
Yeah, I'm wondering if we should we do it as like a milestone, so we can have like different checkbox things and check them off individually.
I've never actually worked with milestones, so this would be new for me.
Ooh, let's try it. So let's see. So let's make a new milestone. This will be let's just focus on the home page for now. Yes, let's focus on the home page for now. And or I guess there's projects now, aren't there? Let's try a project.
This spins up like a Kanban board, right?
I think so, yeah. This is new for me. I've not actually used this, so so board name. Let's just call this style naming things is hard.
Truth.
Okay, I'm just gonna call the project yeah, that's fine. It can be a board. Project template, no. So this will be like style, just unnecessary, but let's do it. So add column. Oh man, this is more than I wanted to do.
We can always back out. We don't have to do this as a board.
Column. Yeah, I was trying to think of like how we could create issues and close them, but I don't think that this is probably going to be the right thing. Oh well, oh sorry.
I don't think we can back out now, guys. It's a Kanban board. We have a sprint. We got to get this all done this week. We got to move. Let's go.
Product owner has changing requirements. Am I the product owner? Is that how this is working?
Oh man, all these. Okay, yeah, no, I'm definitely deleting this. Definitely deleting it. All of those words just got me flustered.
You just made yourself a Scrum Master, and you didn't even mean to.
No, I didn't even mean to. Why did I even reach for this? Settings, delete this board. How do I delete this feature altogether?
Yeah, what is GitHub doing with like Kanban boards? Like,
Okay. Well, you know what? There's no point in me trying to figure out how to delete that while we're recording this. But I'm definitely going to delete that, and then we can kind of figure out the best way to handle some of these issues moving forward. I do think that very brief foray into other things made me realize that I really don't want to do those boards. So issues it is, and we can talk offline about, or online off repo about how to do that. All right, I gotta go. If you all want to continue, that's totally cool. I think the recording probably ends with me, though, unfortunately.
Mm-hmm. Totally fine.
Cool.
Good work, guys.
Thanks for being here, Rob.
Yeah. Emotional support.
This was fun. I'm glad that we did this. I really enjoy this kind of pattern of just doing this stuff and recording it and maybe saving it for later or whatnot. I think I learned a lot. I mean, just as a recap, let me open up VS Code again. Just as a recap, I thought it was interesting the way that we had to configure Eleventy to add this add pass-through copy. But once we got it, it seemed to work.
Hi, Blake.
Pretty easily. And then let's see. Oh, hey, Blake's here. Hey, Blake, sorry, we're just wrapping up, but I am going to do a recap. So perfect timing. We added a CSS directory to our project with a reset and styles. And we were able to hook that into the build with this Eleventy config add pass-through copy of source CSS. And all that does is just it watches for changes in that directory and then puts them into our site build. So that's great. We added a reset from Andy Bell. And, it's funny, we copy and pasted this, but I'm sure that the license probably indicates that we need to add a comment, which seems weird that it's not in the build. I don't know, or maybe I don't know. Maybe it's more permissive than I assume. We did. So then we added our styles. We took a page from Michael Kneprath's kind of layout, which was to do everything with padding. So we have our page content at 60 characters. We then kind of subtract that. So we take like 100% of the width and subtract the page content. And then that gives us like how much padding we want to put once we've extended past the page content width. And then what do we do? And then we just kind of like divide that by 2 and then put that as padding on our centered single column layout, which will presumably flesh out a little bit more in the future. We added a system font, and yeah, that's pretty much it. That's all we did. And then we did a little bit of cleanup on the git ignore and whatnot. Yeah, so not too bad for a day's work or an hour's work with interludes about GitHub and whatnot. Cool. Anything, Ben, anything you wanted to kind of like leave us with in terms of like, next step thoughts and whatnot?
Yeah, I mean, eventually we're actually going to try to get together like some sort of like actually like cohesive like style, some aesthetic for this. And so if you have any ideas or if there are any sites that you particularly like or want to take inspiration from, any color palettes, any opinions about how it should look, currently we are pretty much opinionless on that regard. and so definitely just like send links our way, send your ideas in the chat, on the Discord server, perhaps in the live event text channel, or something, but send those ideas. And also just there's still tons to do with the site. There's a few issues on the GitHub repo. Feel free to take a look at those and try your hand at that. That's a great way to learn Eleventy if you're brand new. And I'll go in and probably add a few more as well. Things like, hey, we need to start like introducing a partial, or I guess like flesh out our partial for the header, stuff like that. So
cool.
Tons to do.
Sounds great. Thanks for being here, everybody. I'm super excited to do this again. And now that we have all the setup in place, get a little bit further on the actual like design and layout of this stuff. So it'll be fun. Until next time, peace.